ياسر ذنلقس على civil رحز الكزي مبدبو تز نحلا ياسر ذنلقس على civil رحز الكزي مبدبو تز نحلا ياسر ذنلقس على civil رحز الكزي مبدبو تز نحلا. And any further thoughts about the upcoming seasonal in May?
Well, yes. The building of one's astral body is important. Waste not time on pleasures, for there are much more important works to be accomplished than pleasure.
Well, the thing that people don't get about the whole, it's like I don't know. That's what may have freaked. What is that?
I drew, yes.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I was thinking upon undead gods.
One of the views that I've seen put forward of space, and as mystical alphabets or whatever are the tree of life or whatever, is you end up with this side one, like that's the hidden one, like the one Russian book I have with Christopher Beast's cards. It's not a full deck, but with his cards you have the or maybe it is a full deck, maybe the ones that are left out are like only these cards, only particular cards, so like 3 for court, I forget, but the because I really haven't done the work with the deck, but the what's it called, but they talk about hidden pathways, because you know how you draw things kabbalistically or whatever, or you have 2 paths, you have one path going to the center, to the sun, but so every card, every sphere connects to the sun. Well, what about the wouldn't that kind of hide some of them? And it wouldn't really, it doesn't have to, because you can actually show that. But typically, instead of a couple, Mercury to the sun to Jupiter, well, which one, which is it the 2 paths that are, is it the paths to the sun that are hidden, or the other ones? So I guess they formed some sort of opinion on which are the hidden paths, but they're not really the hidden paths. It's supposed to be different dimension. But anyways, I think I should go over the letter, the number values of the letters. So
Okay.
Is 0, la 1, ga 2, e or e 3. The I, letter I. So AL, the 1 through 10 is ALGIURHVTMN. And so 4 would be or U, 3 would be or E. And then you have 50 is B. BSEFWOYDZ is 50, 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, a billion, trillion.
Okay.
And so 2 times would be the J. A fraction would be a C. So if you have one number, you have C in between, then you would have, that would be the fraction. 9 times would be a P, 7 times a Q, 3 times an X, so and 5 times a K. And so I have little. So E would be usually, or E. O would be like the omicron, or it would be like the omega. At sometimes I said the C as like the C pronounces like a ch. So I didn't I noticed at times I didn't say it that way, but I think there's supposed to be some sort of dialect thing going on with all this. So I think what to get into now is we have, you know, some verses that represent what we're going at, and then we'll. Okay. So 248. You know, I'm in the green verses now. So Surah 248. Their prophet also said to them, the advent of the ark shall be a portion of his reign. Therein shall be tranquility from your Lord, and relics, which the house of Moses and the house of Aaron left behind, that will be borne by the angels, and that will be a sign for you if you're true believers. And by angels, of course, we're meaning some non-physical beings here. But sometimes there needs to be physical markers. It's not that we get fanatical and think, oh, this stone or this place, and treat it almost like it's a god in itself, right?
Right.
But it's like some things actually are more sacred. Thuma and Zona. Okay. 926. Then God caused his tranquility to descend upon his apostle and the faithful, and he sent your aid. He sent to your aid invisible warriors and sternly punished the unbelievers. Thus were the coverers rewarded. Well, they came to their consequences. So what they've earned. The word is jaza'u. Well, the tranquility, just as we saw linked to elsewhere, it's this idea of what's it called? This spiritual presence. And so I thought these words that all relate, the Sakina in the case of the green verse, the Shekinah in case of the black ones, is I thought to relate the theme numinosity to these teachings of the tranquility. And so if you do not, 940, if you not help him, God will help him as he helped him when he was driven out by the unbelievers with one another. In the cave, he said to his companion, do not despair. God is with us. God calls his tranquility to descend upon him and send to his aid invisible warriors, so that he routed the unbelievers and exalted the word of God. God is mighty and wise. And one of the key things that a person can do something about, per se, is, you know, the spiritual battle. But there are things out there that are part of what one's doing that sometimes you don't know that they're there. You don't know that they're there, but if you believe that they're there, they can make a difference. Or if you believe that they could be there, then they might say, okay, well, this guy's open to the experience. But if you close yourself and tell yourself, oh, nobody even has dreams anymore, I think these are some of the least likely people to even remember a dream.
Yeah.
Like I've talked to people who even talk like it's blasphemy, like it's some sort of blasphemy if a person even remembers a dream.
I've heard sometimes it being said that, you know, creation is a thought. So imagine what a person's thought can do. Oh yeah.
23. 2350. We made the Son of Mary and his mother a sign to mankind and gave them a shelter on a peaceful hillside, watered by a fresh spring. So this thing is oh, I'm looking for the word, but so here we have it connected to the environment. But then again, the whole thing about both of them being signs takes away this idea of Jesus as some vicarious deity you got to look for. It's like it's what you do with the signs. The signs don't per se do anything with you unless you choose to do something with the signs. 30:21, by one of his signs, he created you from dust, and behold, you became humans and multiplied together throughout the earth. By another sign, he gave you spouses from among yourselves, that you may live in peace with them, and planted love and kindness in your hearts. Surely there are signs in this for thinking men. Now, I combined in the work that I did regarding Eckankar, this idea of the what's the word? The soulmates and the lovers aren't necessarily as the same. But ideally you combine them. So here we have the tranquility in choices that are made relationship-wise. And this chapter we have four, particularly this is the chapter of the oath. I mean, it's not called the chapter of the oath, but it has 48:10 and 48:18 are two verses that Sufis use in conducting their oaths. So 48:4, and it was he who sent down the tranquility into the hearts of the faithful so that their faith might grow stronger. Gods are the legions of the heavens and the earth. God is all-knowing and wise, that he may bring the believers, both men and women, into gardens watered by running streams, to abide therein forever, and that he may punish the hypocrites and the idolaters and the men who think evil. What's okay? How's Hakim? Oh, knowing and wise. Okay, that's where it stopped. Okay, some of these don't have the verse number right next to it for some reason, and you have to try to find it. 48:18. God is well pleased with the faithful when they swore allegiance to you under the tree. He knew what was in their hearts. He therefore sent down tranquility upon them and rewarded them with a speedy victory and with many spoils which they have taken. Mighty is God and wise. Remember how what we've talked with each other before about the whole banishing thing. I mean, you know, the spiritual reality knows. You can't just throw out this secret within yourself that, oh, you're gonna act like you're gonna serve it for one, like you're gonna be on its side for 1 minute, just so it will do something weird and ritual, right? And see a speedy the implication with that verse is a person has to go forward on their own and make haste. It's not that. Okay, 28:26. And when the bigotry of ignorance was holding its reign in the hearts of the unbelievers, God sent down his tranquility on his apostle and on the faithful, and made the word of piety binding on them, for they were most worthy of deserving it. God has knowledge of all things. Now, yeah, when you have the different approaches, it can keep you from having an experience, and it can make you hardships on others that it comes easier, or it comes through less effort or something, or it becomes more of a contrast when people are mistreated. That the presence comes in, that the altered states, the trance, that sort of thing happens.
Is it, I wanted to ask a question. Is it, I've seen, how people will, comment on different things. Is it normal for during a rite, the beings and presences, they come out? And I've seen some people claim that, oh, this didn't work, or nothing happened. I don't understand that.
Oh,
Is
well,
it,
I've seen on my videos comments like that. It's like, well, you didn't get into state, or you didn't, what you're
right?
like the Golden Dawn recordings of Israel Regardie. The guy
Mm-hmm,
has a speech impediment, and
mm-hmm,
not this. I guess technically I do, because if I'm not, if I've been yelled at or whatever, and it can make me hard to speak in different contexts, to the point where there's people I could have a conversation from if I was treated better beforehand, but I like don't end up having the conversation at all. Don't even and whatever. But the so he had sort of a speech impediment, and you don't notice it. You're treating it
mm-hmm.
as like, oh, here's this psychological, spiritual, or spiritual instruction, however you're viewing this, and you're trying to use this and stuff, and then it's like, I noticed it, but it wasn't like, okay, it wasn't really a thing. But if it's in a
Uh-huh.
comedy gig or some guy on the television or something, then I notice it and it's the thing. But it's not. It's not really a thing. Um, and
Right.
the so the using people's spiritual media, and I hope that's what people do with my.
Mm-hmm,
I know. But anyways, I'm not going to get into that. But I know that if people follow along, if they say,
mm-hmm,
okay, this is a ritual, like I'm being led at home via the video screen, um,
mm-hmm.
whether they're looking at what's going on or whatever, it's like, you really think a spiritual being that's, as you would say, a causal is going to be like somehow it just
Right.
doesn't make any
It
sense.
don't, right. It won't float through the screen, right?
And
It
and and
works.
and speaking of that, you have your sinister tradition book on hand.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So without reading the second thing before we go right back into this, or maybe let's reread the board.
Okay. I've got a tiny screen. So.
We must identify as separate in our longing for union, full of a transcendent spirituality we have been confessing since we begun with a fiery letter. They have an opinion. The future king and queen have strived for this communion. Numinosity, from the knees to the left hand, from the knees to the right hand, from the knees to the left elbow, from the knees to the pelvis, from the knees to the right elbow, from the knees to the left shoulder, from the left hand to the left elbow, from the left hand to the right elbow, from the right hand to the left elbow, from the right hand to the right elbow, from the right hand to the left shoulder, from the pelvis to the left elbow, from the pelvis to the right elbow, from the pelvis to the left shoulder, from the left elbow to the right elbow, from the left elbow to the left shoulder, from the right elbow to the left shoulder, to this world and beyond through the galaxy are the paths and signs of a causal union. The future is a crystalline key, impaled and wrapped in the canal of white blood and gray, mouths that are caught knowing the pool with the ruby password of the transparency in becoming the dragon. The winter is contained in the landscape, gate, and birds. From the desert of frogs spreads the army of children. Sacrifice is made for the children of the unknown. The internal power of the eagle weaves. The angels are moved by the seven tones of the Black Hill. The marriage of the autumn is released from the earth in the sharpness of the snake of light. Desireless explosions Empty the dungeon of the flaming butterflies. The dance of the solar stillness inflames the gravestones. The red and blue statue bears the lesson to perfect from shapes and through the hair. Aktalal Mecca is moved by arms and steps beyond gender. Ice meets heat of a raven's feminine face, of the golden ones. The dark star opens with the elixir of recalling, and we go against the current to the unspeakably recall. The unconscious depths cut us into a chosen form to enrage the goat. Twain horses encircle upon a mountain. Women have died in marriage and to destroy books. The disabled go beyond forms in descent. The inner temple is traumatized but survives. Fully open and chant. Yes, Vaglagus Allah Civil Rahaz Alxi Mavdevo Tiz Nahla. And I think I might have jumbled some of that, but what are your impressions of that? It's kind of hard moving the graphic back and forth sometimes.
The butterflies, butterflies, they appear, to the eye as being very beautiful. But oh, what beautiful things can bring on such cruelty, in some cases. Kind of like this too much love of pleasure. That's just gotta go.
Well, and the thing is, people don't get the noctulian thing. It's like people are too much in this. Oh, are you red pill or blue pill? Oh, you're black pill. The thing is, actually, it's not. You're about something that's beyond some mere impulse. It's not that you don't enjoy what occurs, or you don't have your own thoughts or whatever. You just don't make it so much about that.
Sure.
Like the Arcturian thing, like the Arcturian's like sort of the opposite of Noctulian. Instead of it's all this reference, and it's all about that, and you're and as we're finding with some of these mass shootings and stuff like this, it's those people that are more prone to the violence and stuff like this, is that because it's all about this putting on a show for everybody else, and having the little things of your desire that are towards that.
Pleasure and joy to me is like a fantasy world.
And I guess without saying the cards, but I guess the cards are in a different order, but you have those 23, or do you have 20? I guess it's 23, because you have that chart of the paths at the beginning, and then you have the thing at the end. Now I don't remember the alphabet of the mortals, but you have so if you'll say something of your own after each of the cards.
Say the cards.
Because that's obviously what I worked into the board here, among some stuff from the Church of Hermetic Sciences, Ordo Templi Astarte. I'm not sure. Some stuff is both, some stuff isn't. So I have Robert Graves' book. I have some Frederick Adams stuff. It's, the Feraferia thing's an interesting thing to me. I don't quite see it the same way, and maybe they've realized that and didn't let me be in the online portion of their group. But but you have the 7. So you have in a different way. You have the planetary and alchemical things, and then you have the community and the beyond. You have this, that lunar symbol thing going on, is that you have this double ring. because you're kind of a reflection rather than it per se.
Yeah. And a protection.
Okay, so
Like
for that chart, for the chart of this oh, how do you say the word? How do you say the word for the septenary system? Because it's like basically like a hedromy.
and
You know what I'm talking about?
a drawing. I see a path workings table. I may be on the wrong thing.
Yeah, the black book, and then it has that at this end, and it has that cat thing, and then it has the or maybe I'll just give you time to think about that as
Okay.
but yeah, it's interesting. So you have this planetary thing, and then you have this worldly star, but it's the spiritual perception of this worldly star, and it takes you into this planetary thing, which takes you into beyond how it's reflective of a greater order. So the yellow verses, as it's called, there's some variation, and I definitely skip through things, but because I don't so Matthew 17 Matthew 17:5. While yet he was speaking, behold, a cloud bright overshadowed them, and lo, a voice out of the cloud saying, This is my son, the beloved, in whom I have found delight. Him hear ye. Now, that language is used throughout. As I pointed out, the idea of Jesus being literally the Son of God, it sort of took Paul and stuff to point that out, and people convince people, because like people didn't take that thing literally. Because if you were a son, you were attached to the house of worship. You weren't necessarily like born of whatever entity, you weren't literally whatever. But that cloud, one of the things that that I see in rituals every single day is these colored clouds. When I read some texts, I will see this, I will feel this tranquility and see these clouds. And then I'll see like symbols and stuff to it that articulate elsewhere. Like sometimes you need to like do meditation and dream magic to strengthen the sort of thing that you end up seeing in a ritual. Like I told you about my pathways that I saw, the one there was this rare conjunction that was on in the sky, and it zoomed up on me. The thing zoomed up on me when I was looking at it. And so
That's interesting.
but there was path. So between those three things, so I saw them as stargates per se, or planetary gates, whatever. And then the whole thing was that there was 200 entities, and they had names and all this stuff, but I just don't remember them. And there were symbols and all sorts of stuff. So it was like it was like I was in Watcher land, egregoric land, for that experience.
I've never been one that had a lot of dreams until recent. And it's like, and I'm talking maybe 2 dreams in 10 years that I've had. That, like, for example, in the past month, there's been dreams coming to me. And then some of them happen, I'll be waking up, and it's like this quote unquote dream happens between the sleep and the waking up step, And they're very, very interesting. And in these cases, it gives me like information, I guess you could call it, that ends up coming to be. One particular thing happens the very next day. So that was just a little secret I thought I would share.
Well, there seems to be a pattern, and I'll share it when it works its way out. But the past week, I've been writing down just a line or two. Like for example, the thing this today was like there was a sphere and a bunch of metals combined of their own to make this sphere.
Mhm.
That's it. I don't really remember much of it. So Luke 2:9, and behold, the angel of the Lord stood by them, and the glory of the Lord around them, and they feared with fear great. One of the things that happens in the Bible is you use this word for Lord that's sort of ambiguous for both
Mhm.
God and man and stuff like this, and it leads to some doctrinal confusions. But there's different words here. So the glory, the doxa, is what we're talking about. Some would talk about the pleroma, the fullness, because the fullness in Gnosticism refers also to beings. So there's what you call a causal, well, not ultimately the causal, but but there are beings out there that the whole thing refers to.
Mhm.
Um,
Definitely lots of energy. Beings.
Romans 9:4. Who are Israelites whose is the adoption and glory and the covenants and the lawgiving and the service and the promises. But of course, did they hold to these opportunities? That's really the question that people should look at: is are people are they connecting to the spiritual opportunities that they themselves are presented with? Because there are beings, maybe not the more ultimate beings, and I guess that's the idea of the planetary and elemental per se pathways, but like with the Enochian system and some other stuff you talk about, there's legions related to this part of the earth and that part of the earth and all that other stuff. Is that, well, it's not to say that there's a blood and soil supremacy, but it's just there's different things to work with in different places. Like I would bet that some of the beings that I've encountered in some of my journeys and stuff like this are not beings that I'm ever going to encounter anywhere else. They're only going to be in that spot. If you go there and do whatever, maybe
It's
they'll.
like you said, at first I wasn't, it's like, with the beings, at first, like last year, I wasn't truly connecting to them. I was, but I noticed recently, not just like truly connecting, but it was like I was able to, I'll describe it as casting out onto a further plane and doing some energetic work there.
Oh,
So,
and that's of course one of the things about this about listing off these pathways and stuff here is that you end up um it gives a framework outside yourself. Your typical pathways, it's bodily centered, and that's what I'm doing with it, but it's really a planetary thing. And if you can connect the both at the same time, of course, remember these are my summer things, so that's sort of reddish. It's closer to pink, I think, but you got the power of the fire and the flames and the source of the fire with this being the sun. You have you know the circle and triangles, the first material plane of manifestation. You have the a being, you know, Belial without masters. Not really. It's sort of a less than nothing upon you or something like that. So it's not quite what become a living God is put forward. There was no etymology that gives it that sense. And so, but anyways, you could say Belial there, and Shaitan, I guess, Shaitan, Ha, Sathan, and Ha Shathan. The Bible uses, I guess the next program we'll get into these. The Bible uses like people are like, oh, it's a misspelling. It's a misspelling for ha-sa-thon. It's not. It's not a misspelling because it is, that's really what they mean. They mean the continual scourge, the emphasis drawn with the hey as a behold. Sathon means opponent and all that stuff. And people say, yeah, but there's 13 uses of Ashathon, and I think they do that on purpose. A lot of these so-called misspellings that they put there, just like the stuff that they change from something else, I think they're doing that on purpose. And so to reiterate, so you have in the center here, remember how I do my, you have Shem'al, which is the obedient of God. You have Samal on the left, or the spice of God. So those are forms of Samael and all that stuff. So that, and when you connect it to Lilith, that's sort of the thing there too. But in your typical thing, you would have Shechem, Ha, Suthan, Yeshub, Ashuthan, Mauna, Shaitan. So Shaitan in the biblical language, because that's what we're doing next, it would be the gift of Tiamat. The Tun in Palestinian is Tiamat. And so we have the different words, because Shekin is the presence. Yeshub is into the seat, and Maun or Mauna is the dwelling. And I guess to throw another way of expressing, because it doesn't, one thing that some Order 9 Angles people have is like, oh, you can't use this language, just use the stuff on our list and all this stuff. And, I can understand only using this and this ritual, but this idea, oh, he does this Kabbalah clip-off stuff. Well, the clip-off isn't really, because, you have, eastward, westward. So eastward, Baal Sebub. It's not Beelzebub. It's Baal Sebub, Lord of Flies. Beelzebub is the golden, is the copulating golden one. And Belial, Leviathan. So the twisting of the coiling, I forget, something like that.